Okay, welcome all to this customer session. It's a customer session about a digital showroom we built for a customer at PVH. PVH is the company behind Tommy Hilfiger and Calvin Klein. And let's start with the presentation, little introduction. I'm Didier Caron. You can find me on LinkedIn, GitHub, and Twitter. In this presentation, we'll take a look at what the showroom is, what it's trying to achieve, and what the challenges are to get to the point where we are right now, and how the solution looks like, leveraging all the cool stuff that Couchbase gives us. So I'll start off with a little video just to make sure that everybody knows what the showroom is all about.
Platforms and systems that will transform the world of fashion using digital technology. The Tommy Hilfiger Digital Showroom is a personalized, unique, one-of-a-kind approach to sales. It elevates the traditional showroom setup and establishes a new industry benchmark for selling. It's our revolutionary concept that's pushing boundaries and propelling the Tommy Hilfiger sales experience into the future. With a single touch of the interactive table, activate the video wall and instantly explore the latest collections. And 360-degree views invite you to review core styles from every angle. The journey begins with inspirational brand videos that explain our company's history and values and define the vision and direction for the season. The innovative concept was developed in collaboration with our own sales teams to streamline, simplify, and elevate the sales process through the power of technology. The concept reflects our focus on efficiency, from minimizing sample production and building space to supporting the brand's ongoing sustainability mission. In the interactive digital showroom, our teams help our customers to create their own assortment. It can analyze, update, and share information with the customers and the sales teams.
So it never got onto that.
The system stores a virtual record of each customer for a quick and easy analysis of historical sales orders. It's a fusion of innovation and craftsmanship, of service and digital intuition, of education and inspiration, of fashion, design, and technology, unlike ever before. And this is only the beginning.
So, how to top that one? So as you just saw, the showroom is about selling seasonal garments to other companies. So it's a B2B system where high-end customers come in and they buy the fashion you wear a year later. So it's for really large orders, and they need to have a good view on what the garment would look like, and we try to be as close as possible as being to a physical product. The high-end, high-end, as I said, it's high-end. People need, the people that come in the showroom, they are big customers, right? So you can't afford to have anything on chance. We need to be reliable, we need to be fast, it needs to look good, as you saw in the video. Yeah, there's no room for any error on that side. Global, we're actually in the process of installing these showrooms all over the globe. We're in the process of installing 5 of them. None of them, unfortunately, yet in the USA. As you saw in the video, one of the key takeaways or key advantages of doing this system is that it reduces the amount of samples needed to be produced by the company. and it gives the buyers a better insight in what they bought previously and what possibly sold good or not good in their own environment. So if we take a look into the business and business to business, it's, as I said, high-profile customers. It's for forward ordering. For those of you who are not aware of what forward ordering is that you're buying stuff for over a year or maybe later. It's in large volumes, and yeah, it just needs to be performant if you're working with large volumes. So this brings me to the requirements. High-end needs premium look and feel performance. There needs to be an offline availability. You cannot sell a high-end customer the story that the internet connection is down, so you cannot service this customer. That's just not an option because that will lead to a loss in sales, and that will also lead into unhappy customers, and that's not what we want. Near real-time data synchronization. Good question. Who of you works with people over at marketing? None? Oh, one. Lucky you. People over at marketing, they tend to change things on the last moment. In the current situation, before we adopted the Couchbase technology, we had a synchronization tool that ran overnight that was actually gathering data from line of business applications and then putting that into a different system. Then the showrooms were getting that data and then putting it into the system again. So it was a really slow process, and it was just not viable to run that more than once a day. So if marketing people thought, well, we need to add additional stuff to the set we already have, or we need to change the name, well, they always needed to wait a day, and that wasn't always an option. There's a diverse landscape. So the system itself is powered by a Mac. The Mac powers the screen on the back. It powers. It serves as a server for the iPad, and it does a lot of the processing of the imaging. But the table itself is a Windows machine. So that's already in the showroom itself. There is a diverse landscape. But then when you look out of that in the infrastructure of PVH itself, you will see Linux servers, Windows servers, all kinds of stuff. And we're building iPad apps, and we're building all kinds of stuff. So we need something that's deployable to more than one system. Next is there was a requirement that we needed a configurable subset of data for each showroom. For some countries, there is a legal reason for not getting data in or out the country. There's no reason for us to synchronize customers that are in Japan to a showroom which is in Germany. So we needed to have like an ability to set up and configure a way to have like a full set for a showroom, and we needed a future-proof scalability. So the showrooms aren't a big load for Couchbase itself, so there are effectively 5 users, and the amount of data isn't that large, but in the future we will try to connect more stuff to the Couchbase infrastructure, and then you'll need to be able to scale that up and be able to work with everything that's available. So as I said, we reduced the amount of prefactored manufactured samples, which ultimately leads to lower costs, lower shipping costs, and a shorter production cycle. So one of the key things when you're in fashion is you need to be agile, you need to be responsive. If there's like a new color that's coming, you need to be able to get that stuff in the hand of the buyers as soon as possible. So a shorter production cycle makes you more agile. The last point is enabling or enhancing data-driven sales. So if you're able to give your customer an insight in what he already ordered or what worked for him and what didn't work for him, you could potentially increase your sales for that specific customer because he is confident that you know what he needs. Next to that, there's a small request that we could do like a customer profiling kind of thing, where we could know what the customer is intending to buy, right? So that would be something that we wouldn't build directly into Couchbase, but we would use one of the plugins that's available with Storm or whatever, just to make sure that we're leveraging the right system. So let's move to the solution. This is a pretty big graph. I'll break it down. So just to get a start, on the left side you'll see the different sources. There are more to come. We have SSIS package, SQL Server Integration Services, which gathers that data and stores that in a central database to make it to enable us to merge and transform that data into something we need, right? So then there's a database in the middle, the message center, which I'll refer to later, and the end service bus client. On the right side, you'll see that, from my point of view, basic Couchbase cluster installation with the Couchbase sync gateways and the digital showrooms that all listen to that sync gateway. The nice thing about this setup is that we can scale on different levels. So we can scale the Couchbase cluster if we were having more data. But if we're increasing the number of showrooms, we could just increase the number of Couchbase sync gateways. On the other hand, if we're having more data that's coming in, we can also scale out the end service bus client to get the data better or faster into the cluster. Last is a dashboard, which is being added lately. I will show you a development status of that dashboard. We have a better one, but this one breaks a little bit down because it isn't through date. The dashboard is there to enable the people that are administrating this stuff to set the right seasons, the right divisions, the right sales regions for a showroom so that the right kind of data gets sent to the different digital showrooms. So as I said, components. So of course we're using Couchbase, Apple, Windows, already touched it on. SQL Server is a big component within PVH. Possibly 95% of all the line of business apps which feed the Couchbase server are running SQL Server or a dialect of SQL Server. We have Oracle, which is mainly there for historical data. So they are doing the data warehousing for the historical data, what did a customer buy, and so forth and so forth. And Service Bus. And Service Bus is something I'll get back to later, but that's our messaging system. And PouchDB is something that's powering the dashboard I just mentioned. So Couchbase, basic setup. Couchbase cluster, we just installed a 3-node Couchbase cluster just to have a failover to enable the replication, so that's just the minimum. And I think that still Couchbase is having an easy time having those 3 nodes. It isn't breaking a sweat at all. We have, for production environment, we have 2 Couchbase sync gateways. Not so much for the load it's being handled, but more for when one of the 2 is down, we are sure that there's still something going on, right? So if both are down, well, then the showrooms still work, but the synchronization isn't working. And then the showrooms, well, we can add new showrooms, but that's something that's more difficult on the hardware side than on the software side at the moment. So the showroom itself, as I said, default Couchbase setup. The showroom is powered by the Mac, and it's running a PHP middleware in the Nginx web server. We chose to use the .NET Couchbase Lite client database on OS X, which seems a little bit odd because you could have opted for the Java version as well. We didn't because there wasn't any developer within the company that could work with the Java version. And we just went with the code we could work with. But it meant we needed to do something extra. At the current moment of time, the .NET Couchbase client doesn't give you a RESTful interface, right? So in order for the PHP middleware to talk to our Couchbase Lite client, we needed to implement the RESTful interface ourselves. So what we did is we created a little wrapper using NancyFX, and then I'm not sure, are there any .NET developers in the one? Oh, more, okay. So let me just elaborate a little bit. NancyFX is a project, open source project, which is a really lightweight web server, which can create like a RESTful API for you really fast. It's really easy. It has it can self-host, so you can create like a self-hosting RESTful API on your local machine, or you could expose it outside, but I wouldn't do that in this case. And then we created it, we added it into a top-shelf application, which effectively enables you to run it as a console app or a bash app, or install it as a service, just as you like. This enabled us to leverage knowledge we already had within the company, and gave us a very quick delivery of the stuff we needed. We didn't implement all the RESTful commands the Java version already has, but we tried to stick as much as possible to that same logic. So if the RESTful API will be available for .NET, we could just switch that out. So that was the part where we could, this was an easy part. We could just install Couchbase, we could install the sync gateway, we could work with the showroom. In this specific graph, you'll see that SSES is getting the data from the different line of business applications, and then it needs to send its data into the Couchbase sync gateway. The problem with SSES is that it isn't really designed to do RESTful calls on a large scale with a lot of data. So we needed something to bridge that gap. So what we thought of was, well, we need something that can actually bridge the gap between SQL Server and any programming language, right? So we introduced the nService bus. nService bus is just a messaging system with a configurable transport layer. So the transport layer being RabbitMQ, Windows Azure Service Bus, Microsoft Service Bus, doesn't matter. We chose to use SQL Server as a transport layer, which effectively enables us to create messages, put that in the message center, and then the client just picks that up because it's being handled like a queue, right? So then it's really straightforward because SSES is designed to work with SQL Server, right? So that's a really easy and straightforward way to go. So with this setup, we actually decoupled our systems from the Couchbase server because the Couchbase server only acts on events or messages that are being sent by our client, and they could come from anywhere in the company. At the moment, we're only using this from the SSES package, but when new applications will be built, those will be emitting events or messages. Those messages will be caught, and then those messages will be handled, and the data will be stored in Couchbase. The nice thing about this is that it also takes care of the fact that SQL Server is a relational database, so it gives you data in a relational manner. So a message could be like updated size L for this style, which would normally be something that's a part of a document in Couchbase, where there are multiple children of those sizes, and in SQL Server that's just a single row. So what we did is we created like a little infrastructure where one message could spawn several commands, which would map to a different document or the same document. So you could update different parts of a document just by handling the message. This way, you're making sure that you can build the documents you want without having to do a lot of difficult stuff in SQL Server itself, right? So we're keeping the messages simple and then have the complex processing in the client where you have much more control over what you're doing with your data. So just to break it down a little bit, because I think this is a bit abstract, I'm hoping it's still readable for the people in the back. So on the left side, you'll see like a simple SSIS flow. Just gets the latest status. So we're enabling the SQL Server data tracking functionality, which is sort of similar to what Couchbase is doing. They're giving you a number, and then you can query a change table with that number, and it gives you only the changes that are being made after that number. So we're getting the status, and then either initialize everything or get the delta, and then we call a stored procedure, which basically builds an XML file, right? So this on the middle is a SQL command, which selects data and then has a nested select for the prices. So it's building a price sheet, and then converts that into XML. And then on the right side, you'll see the result of this command. This XML is easily being deserialized into an object, right? So this object changed prices on the top is consistent with the XML we put on the queue. So then it gets an object, and then we can work with it as if it's just a .NET object, right? So the receiver is a N-Service Bus class that is listening to a certain type of message, and this message changed prices. So whenever the XML is added to the table, the receiver is getting notified, it's spawning a thread, and then it's going to handle that specific message. So in this specific example, you'll see that the command, it takes a couple of commands. I have added one command to the slide, the change price command, so you can see that it's inheriting from some base class, and then it just builds the identifier, right? So because you need to have a unique identifier for each document, so each message that relates to a certain document at least needs to contain the data that's available to build the ID, otherwise you can't find the document to update. And then it just retrieves the data from the sync gateway, does with it what you tell it to, and then it stores it back into the system. Are there any questions so far?
So you grab the data off the bus, and then that pushes it. That's where a C# app is actually picking that data off the bus and pushing it into the sync gateway.
Effectively, yes.
And then, well, why not push it directly into the Couchbase database? Why do you need the sync gateway at that point?
Well, because the showrooms, they are all running the Couchbase Lite client. And if you would update around the sync gateway, that won't work for long. So you need to go through the sync gateway. So you need to update the document through the sync gateway because you need to assign channels. You need to have like a revision. So otherwise you won't manage to get the data out there. That's why. No questions? Okay. So, configuring. Let's see the time. Okay. Configuring. So the last part is the configuration of this the showroom itself. What we did is we created like a node application just running Express so we could host it anywhere. And the backend is powered by Express and Socket.io. Any node developers around? None? Oh, some. Okay, cool. So what we're doing is we are using PouchDB to listen to the sync gateway. And then whenever a change is coming in with the PouchDB, it just emits the change as an event to our system, to our browsers. So every browser that's being started gets a socket connection with the backend. And then when a change comes in, it pushes the change to the client. We could have opted into adding the PouchDB in the browser itself, but we just went for this because this felt a little bit more natural and a little bit less open, which is what people like in management, obviously. So the front end is Angular and Bootstrap, which is, I'm not saying industry standard, but it's just where you start with. There are nice plugins available for having the socket I/O into your Angular ES. There is a plugin as well, or a directive for having PouchDB in your Angular application. So that's pretty rich. We changed the sync function, which I will show, to handle the changes and then send the data or change the channels for a specific showroom. I saw a previous presentation where this method was already mentioned. So I think maybe for the people who saw that presentation as well, it might be nice to see how we created one. Okay. So I'll just fire up. Oh, this one can leave. Yeah. So it's. Again, this is just in a development environment, so CSS is a little bit broken down because the data isn't all in there. So let me just start my Express backend. You will see an error coming in because PouchDB can't find our URL, which is fine because that's actually the point I'm trying to prove. That without the connection, I could still open up my dashboard. And it shows like a graph on what is in our database. It uses a view on the back end to get like statistics from the server. And then we have the showrooms phoning in on a different thread, stating their status and stating their operating system. And if there's an exception within the client, it sends the exception as well. So we have like a central place where we can find our issues, where we can track our systems, and well, we can just work with it. If I open up one example showroom, you'll see. I'm sorry about that one. So here you see like a track of what was being sent by the client, by a showroom, to the system. So it went offline a couple of times, it was syncing a couple of times, and it was idle. You see a little graph where we were leveraging the views on the Couchbase Lite client to get a view of what data was already in there, right? So if a client is syncing, you'll see this graph changing by, okay, this is on the server side, and the client is still getting the data, so this bar is growing. And yeah, it's just a really nice view on how your system is doing. Here you can see the divisions. So you could choose like the showroom is surfacing division 1, 11, and 71, and we want to send. As I said, the CSS can break down. We just want to send spring 2015. And we only want to send it in Belgium. As soon as I hit save, this message, this app creates a document and puts that into the PouchDB. And the PouchDB then triggers a sync to the server. Right? So we're not posting anything directly to the server. We're using PouchDB locally to send the document back to the server. So we have like a profile or a showroom profile document that actually contains the data you configure here. As soon as you hit save, you'll trigger a sync function. This is the contents of the sync function. Please note that you cannot paste it in like this because then it will say it has line breaks, so that doesn't work. So we minify it and then add it into the document. As you can see here, we check for the document type. If a document type that's being synced is a showroom, we require a role for a user to be able to do anything with it. So as soon as someone else is trying to update a showroom document, it just gets denied. It doesn't effectively update the document on the server side. If it does have the role, it checks for the assigned channels and then accesses those channels, gives the showroom the access to those channels. Same holds for the sales organizations. And if there's another document, which is not a showroom, then the channels are just being forwarded and created so that they can be distributed to the different showrooms. Any questions?
Yeah, using CouchDB, you're running the ASCII problem. Browsers have some limitations on local storage.
Yeah, so no, because we were running PouchDB on the Node backhand, and we're only using a subset, right? So we created like channels which contain like a public channel, like reference data, which is just a subset of all the data that's being held in the Couchbase server, which was enough to build the channels for all the documents, right? So all the documents were created with channels with like season and then a division code and then a season code. So we only needed the seasons and the divisions in order to create a channel that would then push out all the seasonal documents.
So your node service is pointing to CouchDB?
Our node service runs PouchDB. So it has a PouchDB, it starts a PouchDB on the, while you're starting the service. And that actually, that database connects to Sync Gateway. Yeah? Any more questions? Oh. So I could quickly. So here you can see, oh, sorry. It's just a couple of lines of code, which gives you such nice functionality. So I'm not sure why that's happening. Brackets is failing me, or I'm failing brackets. So here we're creating. So this is a API class for our Express Node.js application. This is being run when you do npm start, and here you can see that we're creating a PouchDB. We point it to a. So we give it a name and we point it to a certain Sync Gateway. It's live and it needs to retry. And then we just listen to all the events that the PouchDB is giving us. And I think I just removed one. Yeah, so here you would do like the emit, right? So you would emit an event with the data, and then the clients, the browsers would receive that event and can process that event. So you would see the heartbeats coming in and the UI being updated without having the database locally. So let's get back to the presentation because we have a couple of slides left. One, to be precise. So what's next? One of the things that I have seen in a lot of companies is that it's difficult to have like a nice text search over a set of data. Most people try to create like really complicated UIs and then hit SQL Server to do a full text search, which it basically isn't designed for. So we're actually thinking about using Solr or Elasticsearch, the plugin, to create like a text search service over the styles, because all the styles are already in the Couchbase server. So why don't use that server to have like searching that data? So we're also looking into adding Couchbase Lite in apps for mobile devices, which would then leverage the same infrastructure we already created for the showroom, creating one unified system and having that, well, sort of simple setup to get off to a good start. And we are looking forward to extend our efforts for the showroom. So we are still maintaining and creating new features for it. So it's just exciting times. That's it for me. Any questions?
What was the client of the showroom built in?
I'm sorry?
What was the client of the showroom? The dashboard was
That's a Chrome app.
Chrome app?
Yeah. So yeah, what they did is basically they fire up a because I didn't build the table itself, but I know how it's built. So what they do is they fire up a browser and then they fire up a Chrome app, which gives you the ability to update the app through the Chrome store, right? So if there's something wrong with the app, you could just push out a new version and it gets updated on the table while you're looking at it. Yeah, basically, yeah. So, and it's the table and the iPads you saw in the video, they are all communicating through each other using Socket.io as well. Sorry.
With your application, does client side update or modify documents?
Yes.
What sort of data does the client take?
The client actually only sends one document, and that's the assortment he created, because that's being processed in the order management systems. Right, so here you create your assortment, you have this really interactive table, that's your presentation, you hit save, that presentation gets saved to the system with a certain status, and then we handle that status on the other side.
So in that use case, you don't have any confliction.
No. No, and well, it's kind of hard to be on two places on the same time, so if could be a conflict on a document which is customer related, that's not a very viable scenario.
How many clients approximately do you have?
Use this? Yeah. At the moment, I'm not sure because I'm not counting, but I think that it's been running for 2 seasons now, so I guess it would be like 500 or 600 clients. So it's well tested. And there was only one showroom in Amsterdam, right? So now we're creating more showrooms. So we're okay. Thank you for your time. Take care. Enjoy the meeting.